In the great halls of the Galactic Council, thousands of voices echoed through the chamber. Representatives from hundreds of alien races stood, each arguing, shouting, and pointing at one name flashing across the holographic display: humanity. For years, the Council had watched Earth grow faster than any other species. Their ships became stronger, their technology smarter, and their curiosity endless. What frightened the Council most was not humanity's strength, but their unpredictability. Humans had once been a small planet-bound species. Now, they were building colonies beyond their solar system, trading, exploring, even saving worlds in need. To most, humanity looked like a symbol of hope. But to the Council, they looked like a threat waiting to awaken. The meeting began with the usual reports: trade numbers, mining outputs, border patrol updates. But then, a transmission was played on the center display. A Council scout ship had been destroyed near the edges of human space. The image showed a human warship firing a beam of light, cutting through the scout vessel in seconds. The Council chamber fell silent. Every delegate turned toward the glowing image. The accusations spread like wildfire: the humans attacked first. For the first time in centuries, the Council voted for war. Across the stars, news of the decision reached Earth. Inside the United Earth Command building, silent faces stared at the message. The screen read, "The Galactic Council declares war on humanity." No one spoke for several seconds. Then Admiral Rhea Lawson stood, her voice calm but cold. "So," she said, "they finally made their choice." The Council believed humanity would beg for mercy. They thought Earth would surrender quickly. But they had forgotten who humans were. For generations, humanity had chosen peace, not because they were weak, but because they knew what war could do. They had fought their own kind for centuries, nearly destroyed themselves, and rebuilt from ashes again and again. Mercy was not kindness, it was control. And now, that control was being tested. Within days, massive alien fleets began their march toward the solar system. Dozens of races joined, each bringing their own warships, confident in their numbers. They saw Earth as a small blue world, beautiful, fragile, and alone. They thought it would be an easy victory. When the first alien ships entered human space, Earth did not respond. No missiles, no warnings. Just silence. The fleets advanced closer until they reached orbit around the moon. Then, finally, a human transmission was received. The voice was calm and human, but filled with something cold beneath the words. "You do not understand mercy," it said. "But soon, you will." The alien commanders laughed at the message. They believed it was an empty threat. They launched their attack. From the darkness of space, beams of energy rained down on Earth's defenses. Orbital stations were torn apart, and satellites were burned into dust. The blue planet below glowed with fire. The Council's armies watched as cities disappeared under explosions. For 3 hours, they bombarded Earth until scanners detected no sign of life. When the final explosion faded, Earth was silent. The alien commanders cheered. Across the Council's communication network, messages of victory filled the air. Humanity, the most feared and unpredictable species, was gone. They believed it was over. The war that should never have happened was finished. But far beyond their scanners, deep in the black sea of space, something stirred. A faint energy signal pulsed from the shadows, almost like a heartbeat. A ship, massive, silent, and unlike any human design ever seen, moved through the darkness. Its hull absorbed light, vanishing into the void. Inside, thousands of human soldiers stood in silence. Admiral Lawson watched the holographic display as data scrolled across it. The Council fleets were celebrating. The humans had let them. They wanted the aliens to believe Earth was gone. "Now," Lawson whispered, "they will learn why we showed mercy." The crew said nothing. They didn't need to. They all knew what came next. Humanity was not destroyed. They had hidden, prepared, and evolved. In the Council chamber, as the celebration continued, one old ambassador hesitated. He stared at the display, watching the readings from Earth. Something didn't feel right. The planet's surface was covered in fire, yes, but there was no debris from cities, no wreckage, no remains. It was too clean. "This doesn't make sense," he said quietly. "It's like they were never there." But no one listened. The council had already moved on, planning to divide Earth's territory among its members. That night, across multiple worlds, strange reports began to appear. Communication arrays were failing. Patrol ships were disappearing without a trace. Some pilots swore they saw dark shapes moving between the stars, ships without lights, without sound. Command dismissed it as paranoia. Yet, the losses continued. In less than a week, 7 fleets vanished. There were no explosions, no signals, nothing. Only silence. The same silence Earth had given before it fell. And then, a final transmission came from the edge of council space. A single message, short and clear. The voice was human, calm, cold, familiar. Mercy was never weakness. The signal cut out. The council room froze. For the first time, fear spread through the chamber. The humans were supposed to be gone. Their world destroyed. But if that voice was real, then something far worse than war was coming. Because the galaxy had just declared war on a species that had been merciful all along. And now, that mercy was gone. Weeks passed after the fall of Earth, and the Galactic Council believed their mission was complete. The Council fleets returned to their home systems, carrying songs of victory and pride. The destruction of humanity was broadcast across thousands of worlds, showing the burning of the blue planet as proof of their power. For the first time in centuries, the Council felt united under a single cause. But even during their celebrations, a quiet unease began to spread among the people. Trade ships traveling through the outer sectors reported strange disturbances, ships going missing, signals vanishing, and scanners showing false readings. The Council dismissed the reports as space anomalies caused by the war. But the disappearances continued. Whole patrol fleets began to vanish without distress calls. The silence that once surrounded Earth was now spreading across the stars. In the Council's Grand Chamber, the leaders gathered again. Ambassador Zelenar of the Thar Dominion slammed his claws on the table. "This is sabotage," he hissed. "The humans must have left traps." Others argued that it was simply the chaos of rebuilding after war. Only one voice stayed quiet, Eler, the youngest member of the council. She stared at the holographic display of the destroyed Earth. "What if they're not gone?" she whispered. The room went silent for a moment, then laughter followed. The chairman smiled coldly. "Impossible. Their homeworld burned. Their fleets were crushed. Humanity is finished." But deep inside, none of them fully believed it. There was something too clean, too perfect about that victory. The humans had been silent in their final moments, no desperate calls, no surrender messages. Just silence. Out in the far reaches of council space, near the shadowed borders of uncharted regions, a lone patrol ship moved slowly through the darkness. The captain, a veteran named Kor, was uneasy. The scanners kept flickering. Strange energy readings pulsed from the void, short bursts, almost like coded signals. His crew grew nervous as the pulses grew stronger. Suddenly, something massive appeared ahead of them. A shape, dark and silent, floating in the shadows. Kor ordered the lights on, but the beams revealed nothing, only a faint reflection of black metal that seemed to absorb light. "Scan it," he ordered. The computer responded with static. No data, no signature, no life signs. The object was invisible to their systems. Then, a voice came through the radio. "Calm. Human. Mercy was never weakness." The transmission cut instantly. Every alarm on the ship exploded with noise. Before Kor could react, the dark shape moved. It didn't fire weapons. It simply passed through them. The lights went out. The ship was gone. Back at Council Command, the last moments of Kor's transmission were replayed in front of hundreds of officers. The words sent a chill through them. Mercy was never weakness. It was a phrase recorded in Earth's final transmission before the attack. That meant one terrifying thing: humans were alive. Panic spread through the room. The chairman demanded an investigation. Fleets were dispatched to the region where the patrol vanished, but none returned. Each rescue ship disappeared in the same way, silent, instant, without warning. The council tried to hide the truth from the public, but rumors spread faster than censorship. People began whispering that the humans were ghosts, haunting the galaxy. Others believed they had ascended, becoming something more. But a few feared the truth: they had survived, and they were planning revenge. Eler, the young council member, started her own investigation. She went through reports, battle data, and energy readings from Earth's destruction. The deeper she looked, the stranger it became. The energy signatures from Earth's explosion didn't match any known weapon. In fact, they didn't match destruction at all. They matched teleportation. The data suggested that during the final bombardment, Earth didn't burn, it vanished. Something had moved the entire planet, or at least hidden it. But how could that be possible? She tried presenting her findings to the council, but they refused to listen. "The humans are gone," they repeated. "You are chasing ghosts." Yet when she looked into their eyes, she saw fear. Days later, Eler received a secret message. The source was unknown, but the encryption was human. The message contained only coordinates and one line of text: "Come and see." Against orders, Eler boarded a stealth craft and traveled alone to the given location, an empty sector far from any known star. When she arrived, her scanners picked up nothing but darkness. Then, a pulse of light appeared. From the void, a massive shadow emerged. It was a ship, but nothing like the council had ever built. It was larger than a city, black as night, with no visible engines or lights. It floated silently, and yet her instruments showed unimaginable energy readings. Her heart pounded. She activated her recorder. "This is Counselor Eler," she said quietly. "If anyone hears this, humanity is not gone. They are here." Suddenly, her systems froze. Her screen filled with static. Then, a calm voice spoke through the radio. "You searched for truth," it said. "Now you will carry it." The voice was human. Before she could respond, the transmission ended, and the ship vanished before her eyes. Eler's craft returned automatically to Council space days later. She had no memory of what happened after the encounter, only a repeating echo in her mind, the voice saying, "Mercy was never weakness." When she reported to the Council, they refused to believe her, calling it hallucination. But late that night, she received another transmission, this time from deep inside the Council's main communication array. It contained a single symbol, the mark of Earth's old defense fleet, and beneath it, a message: Phase 1 complete. Across the galaxy, communication systems began to fail. Fleets disappeared. Outposts went dark. The same silence that once covered Earth now spread across the stars. The Council's celebration turned to fear. For the first time, they realized the war might not have ended at all. It had only just begun. The silence that haunted the galaxy was no longer a rumor. It was spreading, swallowing communication lines, fleets, and even entire colonies. In every sector once touched by war, shadows moved unseen. The Galactic Council gathered again in panic. Their confidence from victory was gone, replaced by fear. Reports poured in from every corner of the galaxy. Patrols missing, trade routes collapsing, and strange black ships seen drifting silently between the stars. These ships did not attack openly. They appeared without warning, disabled entire fleets, and vanished again. No one ever found survivors. No wreckage, no signs of battle, just emptiness. The Council tried to control the panic, but news of the returning humans spread faster than they could suppress it. Some alien worlds began arming themselves in fear, while others prayed for forgiveness from the ghosts they thought they had destroyed. The Council finally ordered a full military investigation. Dozens of fleets were assembled under the command of Admiral Threx, a proud and ruthless leader who believed in strength above all else. "Humans are gone," he declared to his officers. "This is an illusion meant to frighten us. We will find the source and end this myth." His fleet of 500 warships jumped toward the outer edge of the galaxy, where the disappearances were most common. As they entered the dark region, all signals faded. Space seemed colder, emptier. Even the stars looked dimmer. Then they saw it, a shadow, massive and silent, drifting between the stars. It was the same black ship Ealer had seen before. Threx ordered it scanned, but the systems failed to read anything. "It's blocking our sensors," an officer shouted. "No energy readings." Before Threx could respond, the ship moved. It didn't fire missiles or lasers, it simply released a wave of energy that passed through their fleet like a silent wind. When it was over, every ship went dark. Engines offline. Weapons dead. Lights fading. Only Threx's command ship still had power, and through the static, a voice came. "Come. Human. You celebrated our mercy. Now you will face our justice." The black ship vanished, and Threx's entire fleet drifted helplessly into the void, never to be seen again. When the Council received no contact from Threx's fleet, panic erupted. The chairman demanded explanations, but there were none. Half the Council believed the humans had returned, the other half accused each other of betrayal and sabotage. Systems began to leave the Alliance, trying to defend themselves. Chaos spread faster than the Council could control it. Then came the transmission. Every communication channel in the galaxy flickered for exactly 10 seconds, showing a human figure standing in darkness. The face was calm, eyes cold. "We tried peace," the voice said. "You chose war. You believed our mercy was weakness. You were wrong." Then the screen turned black. No one knew where the transmission came from, but it reached every planet, every ship, every world under the Council's control. The message was clear: humanity was alive, and they were coming back. In the following days, entire fleets of dark ships appeared across multiple sectors. They didn't announce themselves, they didn't negotiate. They struck with perfect precision, disabling weapon systems, shutting down power grids, and disappearing before retaliation. No one understood how they moved. They seemed to jump across impossible distances without using any known drive technology. Scientists began calling it the blink effect. It broke every known law of physics. The humans had developed something beyond comprehension. The Council finally realized the truth: the humans hadn't just survived, they had evolved. Their technology was decades, maybe centuries, ahead. The war had forced them into hiding, but in that silence, they had built something the galaxy had never seen. Ambassador Ealer, who had once warned the Council, was now under investigation for her earlier contact. She sat in her chamber, watching the endless reports of destroyed fleets. She knew this was only the beginning. Then, a message appeared on her private console. No source, no signature. It simply read, "Ealer, you tried to stop the war. You will live to see its end." Her heart froze. Before she could respond, another alert came through the Council's defense grid. A massive fleet was approaching the capital system, hundreds of dark ships, moving in silence. The Council ordered all forces to engage. Thousands of warships moved to intercept, filling the skies with weapons. For a moment, it seemed the galaxy might have a chance. But when the human fleet arrived, the battle lasted less than 5 minutes. The dark ships unleashed waves of energy that didn't explode but erased. Entire ships vanished without sound, like they were never there. Planetary shields flickered and died. Even the Council's most advanced weapons had no effect. When it was over, the human fleet did not attack the capital itself. They stopped just outside its orbit and sent one final message: "We will not destroy you. We will remind you." Then, as suddenly as they appeared, they vanished. The aftermath left the galaxy trembling. No one knew what the humans wanted. They didn't conquer worlds, didn't take resources. They simply appeared, punished, and disappeared. It wasn't war, it was judgment. The aliens began calling them the Silent Watchers. Entire civilizations surrendered without a single battle, sending messages begging for peace. But humanity never answered. Their silence was more terrifying than any weapon. In the council chamber, Eler spoke to the remaining members. "You see now," she said quietly. "We thought they were merciful because they were weak. But mercy was their warning." The chairman stared at her, speechless. Outside the window, space shimmered faintly, as if something enormous moved just beyond sight. Eler turned to the stars, whispering to herself, "They are not fighting us. They are teaching us." That night, the galaxy changed forever. Every planet, every station, every ship received a new message. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. "We are humanity," it said. "We will not destroy what we built together. But if you seek war again, you will see what mercy truly costs." The transmission ended, leaving every world in silence. For the first time since the Council's creation, no one dared to speak of war. But deep inside every alien heart, one fear remained: if this was humanity's mercy, what would their wrath look like? The galaxy was no longer the same after the return of humanity's dark fleets. Every world lived in fear of the black ships that came and went without warning. Some called them ghosts, others called them angels of vengeance. No one understood how they moved, how they fought, or where they came from. The Galactic Council was broken, its members scattered across the stars, hiding behind fleets and shields that could not protect them. Whispers spread of a terrifying truth: Earth was not destroyed. Some believed it had been hidden, others said it had been moved entirely. Only one person in the council dared to find out the truth: Eler, the youngest ambassador, the one who had once tried to stop the war. Haunted by the voices of her people and the memory of that human message, she made a decision. She would find Earth, even if it cost her life. Eler gathered a small team of explorers, scientists, and soldiers who still believed in reason over fear. Using old human star maps, they searched the void where Earth once was. For months, they found nothing but debris and radiation. Then, one day, their ship's scanners detected a faint distortion, something that wasn't space as it should be. It looked like a tear in reality, a shimmering veil of energy floating in the darkness. "What is that?" one of her scientists whispered. The readings made no sense. There was energy coming from behind the distortion. Massive energy, like an entire planet's output. Eler's heart raced. "It's them," she said softly. "It's Earth." As their ship approached the shimmering field, the stars around them began to blur. The engines flickered, and for a moment, everything went silent. Then the field opened like water, and the view changed. Before them floated a blue and green world, beautiful, alive, untouched. Earth. But it was not the same Earth from before. Massive rings of metal and energy surrounded the planet, forming a defense grid more advanced than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Cities glowed brighter than suns, connected by streams of light. Fleets of black ships moved in perfect silence, patrolling the space around the planet. The humans had not been hiding out of fear. They had been watching. They had built something greater, something beyond war. The alien crew could only stare in disbelief. "This is impossible," one said. "How can a world be hidden like this?" Eler couldn't speak. She felt both awe and shame. The humans had survived their destruction, rebuilt themselves, and created a home the galaxy could not even detect. The data confirmed what she had suspected: the humans had developed a technology capable of bending light, time, and energy around their planet. They had cloaked Earth from the universe itself. "They vanished to protect themselves," she whispered, "and to prepare." Their presence did not go unnoticed. Within minutes, the alien ship systems froze. The lights dimmed, and a voice echoed through the comms. "Calm. Cold. Human. Unauthorized vessel detected. Identify." Eler stepped forward. "I am Counselor Eler of the Galactic Council," she said. "We came seeking truth." There was a long silence. Then the voice replied, "Truth comes with a price." The energy field around them shifted, and suddenly, they were surrounded by human warships. Black hulls. Silent engines. The aliens trembled. No weapons were aimed, but the power those ships radiated was enough to make their bones feel heavy. "You attacked our home," the voice continued. "You called us a threat. Yet you are the ones who burned first." Eler took a deep breath. "The war was a mistake," she said. "I want to understand what you've become." There was another pause. Then a new voice spoke, softer but heavier with authority. "You wish to understand? Then look." The energy field ahead shimmered, and a beam of light projected from one of the ships, displaying scenes across the stars. It showed the aftermath of the war, the destruction, the fear, the chaos that had spread across the galaxy. "We gave you mercy," the voice said. "We built, we shared, we taught. You repaid us with fire. So we learned. We learned that mercy without strength is meaningless." The image changed again, showing factories hidden in deep space, building fleets of black ships. "We never wanted to rule," the voice continued. "But we will never kneel again." Eler felt a deep sorrow. "Then why come back now?" she asked. "If you had peace, why return?" The answer chilled her. "Because peace cannot exist with those who only understand fear." The voice grew darker. "We did not return to destroy the Council. We returned to remind the galaxy what mercy truly means." Eler tried to speak, but her voice failed. She saw now the truth behind the stories. The humans weren't monsters, they were survivors who had seen too much of war and decided never to be victims again. Suddenly, her ship's computer activated and began uploading data, schematics, images, transmissions. It was a message to the Council. "We are not your enemies," the voice said. "But if the Council seeks war again, the judgment fleets will rise." Then the transmission ended, and the ship was pushed back through the energy field. When they reappeared on the other side, the shimmering veil closed behind them. Earth was gone once more. Eler sat in silence, her crew too afraid to speak. She now carried proof that humanity lived, and that their mercy had limits. When she returned to the Council, chaos awaited. Systems were rebelling, and fleets were preparing for defense. The moment she showed her data, fear filled the chamber. Some called for peace, others demanded another strike. "You don't understand," Eler shouted. "They could destroy us all, but they haven't. That is their warning." The Council ignored her. Plans for new weapons began, and spies were sent to find Earth again. But what none of them realized was that humanity already knew. They had been listening the whole time. Deep within the hidden Earth, the human commander watched the Council's reaction through intercepted transmissions. He turned to his officers and said quietly, "They still haven't learned. Prepare the judgment fleets." And with those words, the quiet before the storm began to end. Humanity had shown the galaxy mercy once. But mercy, they had decided, was not endless. The galaxy trembled under a growing shadow. Rumors spread faster than light itself, rumors of human war fleets assembling in the void. No one had ever seen them all together, but those who claimed to witness even one spoke of ships so large they could block out stars. They called them the judgment fleets. Each ship moved in perfect silence, cloaked in darkness, and when they arrived, no weapon could stop them. The Galactic Council, fractured and afraid, tried to prepare for the inevitable. Planetary defenses were built, alliances reformed, and propaganda spread that humanity was once again seeking domination. But those who had seen the truth, like Eler, knew better. Humanity wasn't coming for conquest. They were coming for judgment. In the deep halls of the Council's remaining capital, chaos reigned. Leaders shouted over one another, demanding action, demanding answers. Eler stood among them, exhausted and broken. She had tried to warn them that humanity's mercy was running out. But they didn't listen. They never listened. "They gave us a chance," she said quietly, her voice lost in the noise. "We chose arrogance again." The chairman turned on her, his face pale. You speak as if you admire them, he shouted. Eler looked him in the eye. I admire survival, she replied. And they have survived everything we threw at them. Then it happened. Across the galaxy, every major communications channel went dark. Power grids failed. Navigation systems froze. The stars themselves seemed to flicker. And then, in that complete silence, they appeared. Massive, black, and uncountable, the human fleets emerged from the void. No warning. No sound. Just presence. Their ships were enormous, some kilometers long, shaped like blades and shadows. They didn't move like normal vessels, they glided as if space itself bent around them. Every council world received the same message. The screen flickered, and the emblem of Earth appeared. Then a voice, calm but filled with unshakable authority, spoke. This is Admiral Lawson of the Human Protectorate. We gave you mercy when you declared war upon us. We allowed your worlds to live while ours burned. But mercy is not endless. You sought to rebuild your armies, to find us, to strike again. Now we will show you the cost of your choices. The transmission ended, and before anyone could react, the sky above their planets turned black. The first wave struck without firing a single shot. Human ships released pulses of invisible energy that disabled every defense grid across entire systems. Missiles, cannons, and shields went dead instantly. The Council's fleets tried to fight back, but their ships simply stopped responding. It was as if humanity had found a way to command the very fabric of technology. One by one, entire armadas floated helplessly in space, powerless. Then came the second wave, swift, precise, and merciless. Human drones descended upon the immobilized ships, slicing through them with clean energy bursts. The destruction was surgical, not chaotic. Humanity wasn't destroying for pleasure, they were dismantling power. Within days, half the Council's fleet was gone, their command networks shattered. Yet, humanity never targeted civilians. Every strike was aimed at weapons, military command posts, or shipyards. It was revenge, yes, but controlled. Calculated. Cold. On one world, Admiral Threx's surviving officers tried to fight. They launched an entire planetary defense network, firing thousands of missiles into the black sky. None reached their targets. The human ships didn't even move. The missiles simply vanished mid-flight, disintegrated by invisible fields. And then, a single human ship descended into the atmosphere. Massive, silent, casting a shadow over an entire city. A voice echoed across every radio, every speaker, every mind. You thought strength was power. But power without mercy is nothing. In that instant, every weapon on the planet melted into dust. Humanity could have turned the world to ash, but instead, they left. They left the people alive to remember. Back in the Council's war room, Eler watched as reports came in from across the galaxy. Every military base was gone. Every shipyard destroyed. Every weapon disarmed. Yet, not a single civilian world was touched. They're not exterminating us, she said softly. They're teaching us. The chairman collapsed into his seat. Teaching us what? He asked. Eler looked at him with tears in her eyes. What mercy truly means. As the judgment fleets spread across the stars, worlds surrendered without a fight. They opened their communication lines, broadcasting pleas for peace. And humanity responded, not with words, but with silence. Their ships would arrive, disable weapons, leave supplies, and vanish again. On some planets, they rebuilt destroyed cities and repaired power grids before disappearing into the void. Slowly, the galaxy began to understand. Humanity wasn't here to conquer or destroy. They were forcing peace upon a galaxy that only understood war. Weeks later, Eler received a private message from an unknown source. It contained coordinates and a single line of text. You sought truth. Come again. Against all orders, she followed them, traveling alone into the dark space beyond known stars. When she arrived, the same shimmering energy veil appeared. She passed through it and found herself facing the vast rings of the hidden Earth once more. This time, a human ship approached her. The face of Admiral Lawson appeared on her screen, calm and expressionless. "You warned them," Lawson said. "You tried to stop this. That is why you will live to see its end." Eler swallowed hard. "Why show mercy again?" she asked. "After all they've done?" Lawson looked away for a moment, then back at her. "Because someone must remember who we were before the war. We are not gods. We are not monsters. We are human." With that, the transmission ended, and Eler's ship was guided back through the veil. When she returned, the war was over. The Council no longer existed. The galaxy was under the watch of humanity's fleets, now known as the Human Protectorate. Peace had returned, but not the kind born of treaties or words. It was a peace born from fear and respect. In every corner of the galaxy, one message played endlessly through every communication network, a quiet reminder from humanity itself: mercy is not weakness. Mercy is strength restrained. Learn that, and you will never see our fleets again. And for the first time in history, the galaxy listened. The war ended not with an explosion, but with a silence so deep it echoed through every star system. For the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy was quiet. No ships fought, no fleets moved, and no leaders shouted in council halls. The judgment fleets of humanity drifted through the void, their dark hulls reflecting no light, acting more like watchers than conquerors. Every species that had once feared or mocked humanity now lived in a strange kind of peace, peace enforced by the very beings they had once called savages. They called this new era the Age of Silence. Trade resumed, slowly. Old rivalries faded, replaced by whispers about the humans' technology and their hidden power. But the galaxy still lived in fear. They didn't know when, or if, humanity would return in force. Many believed the humans had retreated back to their home world, waiting, observing. Others thought they had vanished beyond the galactic rim. Only a few dared to believe the truth, that humanity was still among them, unseen. On the planet Varela, one of the former council worlds, Eler walked through the ruined capital. The buildings were being rebuilt, but the memory of the war still lingered in every cracked wall. People avoided talking about the humans, but everyone knew their presence was still felt. Machines repaired themselves, satellites transmitted without power, and defense systems refused to activate. Humanity's touch was everywhere, invisible yet undeniable. Eler had become a reluctant symbol of peace. The people respected her because she had spoken to the humans and lived. Still, she carried the weight of their silence. "They could have destroyed us," she often whispered to herself. "Instead, they made us live with what we did." She often looked up at the night sky, half expecting to see one of those black ships watching her. Far beyond Varela, deep in the void, Admiral Lawson stood aboard the command bridge of the Sol Invictus, the lead ship of the Judgment fleets. The ship was the size of a small moon, yet it moved through the stars like a shadow. Around it, hundreds of smaller ships drifted in silence. Lawson gazed at a holographic projection of the galaxy, glowing softly before him. Red zones marked old war fronts, now cold and lifeless. "Status?" he asked calmly. A young officer responded, "All sectors stable. No signs of military buildup. The silence continues." Lawson nodded slowly. "And the reconstruction efforts?" "Efficient," the officer said. "They're rebuilding their worlds. Learning restraint." Lawson looked out the viewing window. "Good," he murmured. "But peace is fragile. They must learn to protect it without us." Unknown to most of the galaxy, humanity's fleets had not vanished, they had dispersed. They became silent guardians, hidden in the dark corners of space. Their mission was no longer war, but observation. The Council's fall had taught the galaxy the price of arrogance, but it had also taught humanity something far greater, that mercy could be sharper than any weapon. Still, not all humans agreed. Deep within Earth's hidden command network, debates began. Some wanted to withdraw completely, believing humanity had done enough. Others feared the galaxy might one day rise again, stronger and vengeful. The argument split the Protectorate's leadership. One faction believed in continued vigilance, the other sought isolation. The question echoed through every fleet: should humanity remain as gods of the void, or disappear back into legend? On the fourth cycle after the war, strange signals began to appear at the edge of the known galaxy. They were faint, broken, and encrypted in a language none of the Protectorate systems recognized. Admiral Lawson ordered immediate investigation. What they found sent a chill through the command network. The signals came from deep space, beyond the galactic rim, where no civilization had ever ventured. And they were not of human origin. The patterns were structured, mathematical, and carried fragments of data resembling human technology, but twisted, corrupted. Who sent this? Lawson demanded. The analysts could only guess. Some thought it was the remnants of the Council experimenting with forbidden tech. Others whispered something far worse, that the war had awakened something out there, something watching both humanity and the galaxy. Back on Varela, Ealer was called to the new Central Assembly. The galaxy's surviving leaders had formed a fragile new alliance called the Concord of Worlds. They met in secret, fearful of human surveillance. Their goal was simple: to rebuild without drawing humanity's wrath. But during one of their sessions, a transmission appeared on the central display, hijacking every frequency. It was not human, nor alien. It was something else entirely. A deep, mechanical voice spoke in broken tones. They brought silence. We bring memory. Then it vanished. Panic spread instantly. Some thought humanity was sending a new warning. Others feared a new power was rising. Ealer, however, felt something different, a cold realization that the galaxy's peace might not last. Meanwhile, aboard the Sol Invictus, Lawson watched the same signal replay over and over. Could it be one of ours? His second-in-command asked. No, Lawson said firmly. We never built anything that speaks like that. His eyes narrowed as he looked at the endless black outside. Something else has awakened. And it remembers the war. The bridge fell silent. For the first time in years, even humanity's greatest fleets felt uncertain. In the following weeks, more signals appeared, shorter, faster, like whispers traveling through the void. Each one carried a different phrase. You silenced the stars. The void remembers. Mercy will not save you. Humanity, once the galaxy's judge, now faced something it did not understand. The irony was not lost on Lawson. We taught them mercy, he said to his officers. But perhaps we've forgotten what it feels like to be afraid. As the Sol Invictus turned toward the edge of known space, its engines ignited with a faint blue light. The fleets began to mobilize once more, not for conquest, but for discovery. For the first time since the Judgment War, humanity prepared to face something unknown. And somewhere, beyond the galaxy's edge, an ancient presence stirred, something older than humanity, older than the Council, watching and waiting. The age of silence was ending. Something was coming, and this time, even humanity might not be ready. The silence of space had always been humanity's ally, but now it felt heavier, colder, filled with whispers that shouldn't exist. At the farthest edge of the galaxy, where stars grew thin and darkness stretched endless, Admiral Lawson's fleet moved cautiously. The mysterious signals that had disturbed the age of silence were growing stronger, more frequent, and more complex. Each message carried patterns that almost seemed alive. At first, the Protectorate believed it was a trick, perhaps remnants of old Council AIs trying to draw them out. But when one of the signals translated itself automatically into perfect human language, that illusion vanished. The message was short. You were not the first. Those words sent a wave of unease through every ship. Humanity, for all its power and technology, had never encountered anything it couldn't understand. Until now. Lawson stood at the command deck of the Sol Invictus, his gaze locked on the shifting holographic projection of the rim. Run another scan, he ordered. I want every particle mapped. The officer nodded. Sir, we've scanned the same sector 50 times. The readings don't make sense. The energy signatures shift every few seconds as if space itself is alive. Lawson frowned. Alive. The officer hesitated. Yes, Admiral. And it's getting closer. Outside the ship, the void rippled faintly, as though invisible waves moved through it. The fleet held position, weapons offline. Humanity had learned its lesson about attacking what it didn't understand. Meanwhile, far away on Varela, Eler woke from a nightmare that felt too real. She dreamed of stars flickering out one by one, until only darkness remained, and in that darkness, she heard voices whispering her name. She sat up, gasping, her communicator blinking. It was a message from the Concord Council. Eler, said a familiar voice. You must come to the assembly. Something is happening. The humans are mobilizing again. Her heart raced. She dressed quickly and took the first shuttle to the capital. The once broken city had been rebuilt, its towers shining again, but an uneasy tension filled the air. When she entered the hall, the leaders were already arguing. They're preparing for war again, shouted one delegate. They've seen something out there, something they won't tell us about. Another counselor slammed his fist. We can't let them drag the galaxy into another war. Eler stood silently for a moment, then said softly, if they are preparing for war, it's not for themselves. It's for us. At the same time, deep in the black frontier, strange phenomena began appearing. Stars dimmed unnaturally, their light bent by invisible forces. Entire sectors went silent, their communication relays ceasing to respond. Recon drones sent by humanity vanished without a trace. And then, a single drone returned. It carried no footage, no data, just one image burned into its surface, a mark, circular and complex, glowing faintly as if alive. Scientists aboard the Sol Invictus couldn't identify it. It's not energy, said the chief researcher. It's not even matter as we know it. It's a scar in reality. Admiral Lawson studied it quietly. Then something's carving through space, he said. Something older than the stars themselves. The signals from beyond the rim grew bolder. One day, every human ship in the sector received a direct transmission. It came through every channel, in every frequency, spoken in an eerie, mechanical tone that somehow carried emotion. You silenced the stars with your mercy, it said. Now hear the silence answer. Then a wave of distortion struck the fleet. Systems flickered, gravity fields warped, and even the mighty Sol Invictus trembled. For a few terrifying seconds, every human on board heard voices, thousands of them, whispering fragments of words. Some claimed to hear memories, others screams, others prayers. Then it stopped. Silence returned, heavier than before. On Earth, far beneath the old surface, the High Command received the reports. The elders of the Protectorate gathered in a secret meeting room known as the Vault. One of them, an aged admiral with a cybernetic eye, spoke gravely. We thought we were the apex. We thought mercy was our greatest weapon. But what if something far older has been watching? Something that sees mercy as weakness? The room fell silent. Then a voice from the shadows answered. Then we remind them who we are. That voice belonged to Admiral Lawson, his transmission flickering across the table. Prepare the fleets. We go beyond the rim. As the fleets assembled once again, their sheer scale defied imagination. Thousands of ships, each black and silent, lined up in the darkness. The galaxy watched in awe and fear. Every world, every race, tuned in as humanity's armada prepared to cross into unknown space. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy didn't see them as monsters, they saw them as protectors. If something threatens all life, said one alien broadcaster, then may the humans stand between it and us. It was an odd feeling for the galaxy, to hope for humanity's strength rather than fear it. Eler, now serving as a representative of the Concord, was invited aboard the Sol Invictus before it departed. Lawson met her on the observation deck. She looked at the endless void before them. You think this thing out there wants war? She asked. Lawson shook his head. I don't know what it wants. But I know it remembers. Something about that signal. It felt personal. Personal. Eler frowned. How? Lawson turned toward her. Because it knew us. It used our own words. It said mercy. Moments later, the engines of the judgment fleets came alive. The stars behind them blurred as they accelerated toward the edge of the galaxy. Ahead lay the unknown, the place where light itself seemed afraid to go. The fleet crossed the last border beacon, and the stars behind them faded one by one. As they entered the void beyond the rim, the universe seemed to shift. Sensors failed. Gravity fluctuated. The blackness ahead rippled like water. And then, for the briefest moment, they saw it, a colossal shape moving in the distance, so vast it dwarfed entire planets. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't alive in any sense they knew. It was something else entirely, something ancient and awake. Lawson whispered quietly, "So the myths were true. The void has a voice." And as the first human ships disappeared into the endless dark, one final transmission echoed through every channel across the galaxy. Mercy ends where the void begins.